The massive alien ships appeared without warning. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel right above Earth, blocking out the stars with their dark hulls. 3,000 warships, each one larger than a human city, hung in space like vultures waiting for death. Captain Dae-Jung Kim stood on the bridge of his ship, the Indomitable, and felt his blood turn to ice. In 20 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. The alien fleet belonged to the Valthrine Empire, the oldest and most powerful force in the known galaxy. They ruled over 17 different alien species and had controlled space for more than 6,000 years. No one fought the Valthrine. No one won against them. Admiral Hana Park watched the same scene from Earth's military command center, buried deep beneath the Korean peninsula. Her face remained calm, but her hands gripped the edge of the console until her knuckles turned white. She had spent her entire life preparing Earth's defenses. Now she wondered if any of it would matter. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission," her communications officer said. "It's directed at all human colonies and settlements. They want everyone to hear this." "Put it through," Hana ordered. The alien voice that filled the speakers was translated by computers, but the coldness in it needed no translation. "Humans of Earth and the colonies beyond. I am High Commander of the Valthrine Empire. Your species has been evaluated. You have built weapons. You have expanded into space without permission. You have violated the natural order of the galaxy." Dae-Jung listened from his ship, along with every other human in the solar system. His chief engineer, Myung-Soo Kang, stood beside him, face pale with fear. The alien continued. "The Empire offers you a choice. Submit to our rule within 72 hours or face complete extinction. Submission requires the following: destroy all your weapons and warships. Accept our occupation forces on every human world. Provide 30% of your population as workers for the Empire. You will obey all laws we create. You will serve us." Ambassador Sung-Min Choi stood in Earth's diplomatic center, shaking with rage. He had spent decades trying to make peaceful contact with alien civilizations. The Valthrine had finally responded, but not with friendship. They responded with chains. "To show our seriousness," the alien voice said, "we will now provide a demonstration." On Mars, 4 million colonists went about their daily lives. The Red Planet had been humanity's second home for 100 years. Cities sprawled under protective domes. Children played in artificial parks. Families ate dinner together. Then the sky turned white. The Valthrine fired a single weapon from orbit. The beam of energy was so powerful it turned the Martian atmosphere into plasma. Every dome shattered. Every city vaporized. Every person died in less than 3 seconds. 4,200,000 souls gone in a flash of light. Dae-Jung watched from his ship's sensors, unable to look away. He had a sister on Mars, had. Past tense now. Myung-Soo turned away and vomited on the deck. "The countdown begins now," the alien said. 72 hours. Choose wisely." The transmission ended. Silence filled every human ship and station. Then the screaming began. Admiral Hana forced herself to stand straight. She could cry later. Right now she had a job to do. "Get me every military commander, every government leader, every colonial representative. War Council in 1 hour." Counselor Ji-Won Lee arrived at the War Council with classified files that most people didn't know existed. She was a member of Earth's Colonial Council, responsible for settlements beyond the solar system, but she also had access to intelligence that made her sick to read. "I have information about the Valthrine," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "Our deep space probes have been studying them for 30 years. We know their history." She pulled up holographic displays showing planet after planet, species after species. "In the last 1,000 years, the Valthrine have encountered 43 species that refuse to submit. All 43 species are now extinct. The Valthrine don't bluff. They don't negotiate. You submit or you die. Those are the only 2 options they ever give." The room fell silent. These were humanity's leaders, the strongest and smartest people Earth could produce, and they all knew what extinction meant. President of the United Earth Government spoke first. "Then we have no choice. We must submit. Better to live as slaves than die as free people." "No." Admiral Hana's voice cut through the room like a blade. "I disagree. They have 3,000 ships. We have 800. Someone shouted. "They have technology 1,000 years ahead of ours." Another added. Hana looked at each person in the room. "They have all of that, yes. But they made one mistake, one critical error. What mistake? Sung-min asked. They think we're like the others. They think we'll calculate the odds and surrender. They think we're rational. Hana smiled, but there was no humor in it. They don't understand humans at all. Counselor Ji-won stood up. The Admiral is right. I've read the reports on every species the Valthrine destroyed. Every one of them fought traditional wars. They tried to win. But what if we don't try to win? What if we just try to make them bleed? Daejung, attending the meeting via hologram from his ship, spoke up. They killed my sister. They killed 4 million of us as a demonstration. If we submit now, what happens the next time they want something from us? What happens when they demand more workers, more resources, more of our children? The room began to shift. Fear turned to anger. Despair turned to rage. Sung-min, the diplomat who had spent his life seeking peace, stood with tears running down his face. I wanted to find friends among the stars. Instead, we found monsters. I vote for war. One by one, the others agreed. It was insane. It was suicide. But it was also the only choice they could live with. Admiral Hana pulled up a classified file on the central display. Then I'm authorizing Operation Hellstorm. It's a plan we created for this exact scenario. We always knew something like this might happen. What is it? Someone asked. Hana's smile turned cold and hard. It's every dirty trick, every war crime, every vicious tactic that humanity has ever invented. We're going to hit them with everything at once. They expect submission or a traditional war. We're going to give them neither. She looked around the room. We're going to give them hell. The vote was unanimous. Earth would not submit. The colonies would not kneel. Humanity chose extinction over slavery. As the meeting ended, Hana sent a coded message to every human ship, station, and military installation in occupied space. Prepare for Operation Hellstorm. Attack begins in 71 hours and 59 minutes. Kill them all. The Valthrine expected an answer of submission or defiance. They would get their answer, but not the one they expected. Humanity's answer would be written in fire and blood. The Valthrine fleet waited in perfect formation above Earth. High Commander watched the timer count down the final minutes of the ultimatum. His species had done this hundreds of times before. The humans would submit. They always did. On the bridge of 17 different human warships, commanders watched their own timers. Major Tae Yang Shin checked his Marine assault team one final time. Commander Bo-Ra Song piloted her stealth ship through an asteroid field, invisible to enemy sensors. Dr. Yuna Han stood in a weapons lab, watching her experimental quantum torpedoes being loaded into launch tubes. Young Ensign Min-Soo Jang sat at his communication station on Earth, hands shaking as he prepared to intercept enemy signals. He was only 22 years old. He had joined the military to see the stars, not to fight a war. The timer reached 0. The Valthrine High Commander opened a channel to demand Earth's surrender. Before he could speak, his ship's alarm screamed. Admiral Hana had planned everything perfectly. Every human ship, every space station, every hidden weapons platform attacked at the exact same moment. The Valthrine had superior technology, but they never expected this level of coordination. The indomitable Captain Daejung's ship fired first. Missiles streaked through space toward the massive alien command carrier. The Valthrine shields absorbed them easily, but the missiles weren't meant to damage the ship. They were meant to light it up on sensors. Target marked, Daejung said calmly. All ships focus fire. 800 human ships fired on the command carrier at once. The Valthrine shields held for almost 10 seconds. Then they failed. Explosions rippled across the alien hull. Commander Bo-Ra Song emerged from the asteroid field with her stealth squadron. They had been hiding there for 3 weeks, waiting for this moment. Her ships were small, fast, and carried the most powerful bombs humanity could build. Attack run now, she ordered. Her ships dove toward the wounded command carrier like sharks smelling blood. The Valthrine tried to shoot them down, but the human ships moved too fast, dodged too quickly. Bo-Ra's ship shuddered as enemy fire passed within meters of her hull, but she didn't slow down. Releasing payload, she said. Nuclear bombs, each one powerful enough to destroy a city, detonated against the carrier's already damaged hull. The massive ship began to break apart. On the surface of the dying carrier, Major Tae Yang Shin and his Marines burst through a breach in the hull. They wore heavy combat armor and carried enough weapons to fight a small army. Move, 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 Tae Yang shouted. The Valthrine crew inside never expected borders. They were scientists and officers, not warriors. The human Marines killed them without mercy, moving through the ship like a plague of armored death. Taeyang's orders were clear. Capture technology, take no prisoners. Sir, we found their command center, one Marine reported. Burn it, Taeyang ordered. Download everything first, then burn it all. Dr. Yunahan watched her quantum torpedoes perform beyond her wildest expectations. The experimental weapons phased through Valthrine shields as if they didn't exist, then exploded inside the enemy ships. Each torpedo destroyed vessels that normal weapons couldn't even scratch. It works, she whispered in amazement. It actually works. Dr. Han, we need more torpedoes. Admiral Hana's voice came through her communicator. How many can you produce? Yuna looked at her research team. They were already working at maximum speed, building the weapons by hand. We can make maybe 50 more in the next 6 hours. Make 100, Hana ordered. I don't care how you do it. The battle raged for hours. The Valthrine had superior ships and better weapons, but they had never faced an enemy like this. Humans didn't fight honorably. They used tactics the Empire had never seen. Kamikaze drones controlled by artificial intelligence crashed into enemy ships. Nuclear mines drifted through space, detonating when Valthrine vessels came near. Biological weapons, outlawed by every civilized species, were deployed without hesitation. Young Ensign Min-Su Jiang worked at his station, desperately trying to crack the Valthrine communication codes. He had a gift for languages and patterns, but the alien encryption was incredibly complex. Then he saw it. A repeating sequence in their transmissions. I've got something, he said to his supervisor. It's their command frequency. I can hear their fleet coordination. Can you intercept it? The supervisor asked. Better, Min-Su said, fingers flying across his keyboard. I can decrypt it. Give me 5 minutes. He worked faster than he ever had in his life. Around him, the command center shook as Valthrine weapons struck Earth's orbital defenses. People died at their stations. But Min-Su kept working. Done, he shouted. I can hear everything they're saying. The information flooded to Admiral Hana's command center. She could now hear every order the Valthrine commanders gave to their ships. She knew where they would move before they moved. All ships, new targets, she broadcast. Hitting their weak points now. The tide of battle shifted. Human ships struck at exactly the right places at exactly the right times. The Valthrine began to panic. Captain Dae-jung looked at the tactical display and saw an opportunity. The enemy flagship, the largest ship in the Valthrine fleet, was isolated. Its escorts had been destroyed, but it was still too powerful for human weapons to penetrate. Dae-jung made his decision in seconds. Myung-soo, he said to his chief engineer. Override all safety protocols. Divert everything to the engines. I need maximum speed. Myung-soo's face went pale. Sir, that will destroy the ship. The engines will overload. I know, Dae-jung said. He opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. Abandon ship. You have 2 minutes to reach the escape pods. That's an order, his crew protested, but Dae-jung was firm. One by one, they evacuated. Soon, only Dae-jung remained on the bridge. He pointed his ship at the Valthrine flagship and pushed the engines beyond their limits. The Indomitable screamed through space, moving faster than it was ever designed to move. The Valthrine flagship fired everything it had at the approaching ship. Dae-jung's shields failed. The hull began to burn, but he kept going. For Mars, Dae-jung whispered, thinking of his sister. For everyone they killed. The Indomitable hit the flagship at a significant fraction of light speed. The collision released more energy than 100 nuclear bombs. Both ships vanished in a ball of expanding plasma. The Valthrine fleet commander died without ever leaving his chair. The battle continued through the night. Earth's orbital stations burned. Hundreds of human ships were destroyed. 17 million people died in the fighting. But when the sun rose over Earth, the Valthrine fleet was broken. 2,000 of their 3,000 ships were destroyed or crippled. The survivors retreated, jumping to faster-than-light speed in a panic. Admiral Hana stood in her command center, surrounded by reports of casualties and damage. Earth had survived, but barely. Commander Bo-ra-song limped her damaged ship back to Earth, half her squadron gone. Major Tae-yang-shin floated in an escape pod, his carrier destroyed but his mission complete. Dr. Yuna Han collapsed over her workstation, exhausted but alive. Ensign Min-Su Jiang sat at his post, tears streaming down his face as he counted the dead. The victory came at a terrible price. But it was a victory. Across the galaxy, every species under Valthrine rule received the same message. The battle had been broadcast on every frequency, visible to anyone with the right equipment. Humanity had done the impossible. They had beaten the Valthrine Empire. Admiral Hana recorded a message to be sent throughout the galaxy. Her face was hard, her voice steady. To the Valthrine Empire and all who serve them, you came to Earth expecting submission. You demonstrated your power by murdering millions of innocents. You thought we would kneel. She leaned forward, staring into the camera. You were wrong. This is only the beginning. We will never submit. We will never surrender. And we will make you pay for every life you took. The message spread through space at the speed of light, and the galaxy learned a new truth. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. The Valthrine Empire had ruled the galaxy for 6,000 years. In all that time, no species had ever humiliated them like the humans had. The Emperor himself, ancient and powerful, demanded revenge. Mobilize everything, he commanded. 15,000 ships. I want the human species erased from existence. Across the Empire's vast territory, warships gathered. The Armada would be the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. They would need 6 months to fully prepare, but when they arrived at Earth, nothing would survive. Admiral Hana Park received the intelligence reports and knew humanity was doomed. They had perhaps 800 ships left after the first battle. Against 15,000 they had no chance. She called her military commanders together. We can't win a defensive war, she said. The moment that Armada arrives, we're finished. So we won't fight defensively. We're taking the war to them. Colonel Jae-hyun Yu, a special operations commander, understood immediately. Hit them before they can organize. Strike their supply lines, their colonies, their infrastructure. Exactly, Hana confirmed. We abandon our defensive positions. Every ship we have goes on the attack. We hurt them as much as possible before the end comes. On the occupied colony world of Arcturus 7th, a woman named Hae Wan Nam had watched the Battle of Earth from her prison cell. The Valthrine had conquered her world 3 years ago, enslaving the human population. Hae Wan had organized a resistance movement in secret, gathering weapons and waiting for the right moment. When news of Earth's victory arrived, she knew that moment had come. Tonight, she told her fellow resistance fighters, the Valthrine garrison has 3,000 soldiers. We have 10,000 fighters in the element of surprise. We kill them all. The uprising began at midnight. Humans attacked from every direction, using weapons they had hidden and tactics they had practiced in secret. The Valthrine soldiers were trained warriors, but they never expected such ferocity. Hae Wan led her fighters through the garrison headquarters, killing every alien they found. No mercy, no prisoners. The occupation had been cruel and the revenge was crueler. By dawn, every Valthrine on Arcturus 7 was dead. The planet was free, but Hae Wan knew it wouldn't last. The Empire would send more ships. Fortify everything, she ordered. They'll come back, and when they do, we make them pay for every meter of ground. Colonel Jae-hyun Yu took his special forces deep into Empire territory. His ships were fast and nearly invisible to sensors. He led raids on Valthrine supply convoys, destroying the resources needed for the coming Armada. On one mission, his team hit a terraforming operation on a peaceful Valthrine colony world. The aliens there were civilians, scientists, families. Jae-hyun's orders were clear: maximum disruption, maximum damage. His team planted bombs in the terraforming equipment and left. The explosions destroyed years of work and killed hundreds of civilians. Jae-hyun felt sick, but he didn't stop. This was war, and war was ugly. Lieutenant Youngji Baek was the best fighter pilot humanity had ever produced. In the Battle of Proxima Centauri, she shot down 43 enemy fighters in a single engagement. Her reflexes were perfect, her aim flawless. Then a missile she couldn't dodge caught her ship. Youngji ejected just before the explosion, but her pod landed on a Valthrine-controlled planet. She survived the crash and found herself alone in enemy territory. Instead of hiding, she started a guerrilla war. She ambushed Valthrine patrols, stole their weapons, and recruited other stranded humans. Within weeks, she commanded a force of 200 fighters, all of them striking at the Valthrine from the shadows. The aliens sent search parties to find her. She killed them all. Back on Earth, a scientist named Dongwoo Ryu worked on humanity's darkest project. He was a specialist in nanotechnology and biological warfare. His orders came directly from Admiral Hana. Create a weapon that targets Valthrine biology specifically, she had told him. Something that will kill them but leave other species unharmed. Dongwu had protested. That's a genocide weapon. If we use it, we're no better than them. They already tried to genocide us, Hana replied coldly. I need this weapon. Can you build it or not? Dongwu built it. He called it the Reaper virus. It was a nightmare of nanomachines designed to invade Valthrine cells and destroy them from within. Once released on a planet, it would kill every Valthrine there within hours. When he finished, he delivered it to Admiral Hana and then went home and cried. Humanity began using weapons that shocked the entire galaxy. They poisoned Valthrine colony worlds, making them uninhabitable for centuries. They used biological weapons that killed millions. They destroyed 3 entire Valthrine colonies, civilian populations and all. The other species in the galaxy watched in horror. The humans were fighting like demons, using tactics that violated every rule of civilized warfare. The Valthrine Empire's propaganda machine broadcast across all frequencies. Behold the plague species. The humans are monsters who know no honor, no mercy. They must be exterminated for the safety of all civilized life. But among the subjugated species, whispers began. Whispers of hope. If the humans could fight like this, could hurt the Empire like this, maybe freedom was possible. The Valthrine offered new terms to Earth. They would give humans limited autonomy instead of complete subjugation. They would let humanity keep some weapons, some freedom. The message arrived at Admiral Hana's command center. She read it and laughed bitterly. She recorded her response and broadcast it on every channel, ensuring the entire galaxy would hear. To the Valthrine Empire, you offer us scraps from your table and call it mercy. You offer us limited freedom and expect gratitude. We reject your offer completely. She stood, her face hard as stone. We demand complete freedom, not just for humanity, but for every species you've enslaved, every world you've conquered, every people you've oppressed. Withdraw from all occupied territories. Release all subjugated species. Give up your empire voluntarily. She paused, knowing what response would come. Or we will burn it down ourselves. We will not stop fighting. We will not accept anything less than total liberation, not just for us, but for everyone. The Valthrine Emperor's response was immediate and furious. Then you will all die. The Armada comes. Nothing will save you. Admiral Hana turned to her staff. How long until the Armada arrives? 4 months, Admiral. Then we have 4 months to make them bleed. 4 months to show the galaxy that the Empire can be beaten. 4 months to inspire others to rise up. She pulled up a star map showing all of Valthrine-controlled space. Target every military installation, every supply depot, every strategic position. I want constant raids, constant attacks. We might not survive, but we'll make sure the Empire remembers us. Across human space, the message went out. Every ship, every soldier, every fighter received the same orders. Attack without mercy, fight without surrender. Give the Empire no peace. Humanity became a plague upon the Valthrine. Every day brought new attacks, new losses for the Empire. The cost in human lives was staggering, but no one suggested surrender. On Arcturus 7, Haewon Nam prepared her defenses for the inevitable Valthrine return. On enemy worlds, Colonel Jae-hyun Yu continued his raids. Lieutenant Young Ji-baek's guerrilla army grew larger. Dr. Dongwu Ryu created more terrible weapons, each one making him hate himself more. The galaxy watched as humanity waged total war. Some species were horrified. Others were inspired. All of them understood one thing clearly. The humans would rather die than kneel. And they would take the Empire down with them if they could. The Great Armada continued its approach. 15,000 ships carrying the combined military might of the Valthrine Empire. They came to deliver extinction, but humanity was ready. Not ready to win, perhaps, but ready to make their extinction so costly that the Empire would never forget it. Admiral Hana looked at the countdown timer on her screen. 4 months until the Armada arrived. 4 months until the end. She smiled grimly. 4 months was a long time. A lot could happen in 4 months, and humanity had only begun to fight. The Valthrine Armada entered human space like a swarm of locusts blocking out the stars. 15,000 ships, each one a masterpiece of military engineering. Against them, humanity had 800 vessels, most of them damaged from months of raiding operations. Chancellor Kyung-suko, leader of the human government, stood in the war room beneath Earth's surface. She was 73 years old and had governed humanity through its greatest crisis. Now she would guide them through their final hours. Admiral Hana, she said quietly, "It's time." Admiral Hana nodded. She had been waiting for this moment, dreading it and preparing for it in equal measure. She pulled up a classified file that only she and the Chancellor could access. Desolation Protocol, Hana said. Authorization code Inferno 77 Omega. The computer accepted the code. Across every human world, military installations received the same order: total mobilization. Every factory would produce only weapons. Every civilian would become a soldier. Entire planets would be converted into fortresses. Children as young as 12 were given basic weapons training. The elderly were assigned to defense positions. Humanity would fight with everything it had, everyone it had. Captain Seok-Jin Hwang commanded the Prometheus, humanity's most advanced warship. It was also carrying the most terrible weapon ever created, the Cascade device. Dr. In-ho Kwon, the scientist who designed it, stood on the ship's bridge, looking ill. "Captain," he said quietly, "I need to explain what this weapon does. You need to understand before you use it." Seok-Jin nodded. "Go ahead." "The Cascade device destabilizes stars," In-ho explained. "It triggers a chain reaction in the star's core. Once activated, the star will collapse within 48 hours. Everything in the system dies, everything, planets, moons, space stations, ships. Everything gets pulled into the collapsing star or burned in the expansion. Billions of lives gone." Seok-Jin was quiet for a long moment. "And there's no way to stop it once it starts?" "Theoretically, yes, but you'd need to reverse the device within the first few hours. After that, the reaction becomes irreversible." The captain looked at the weapon, a device no larger than a coffin, sitting in the Prometheus's cargo bay. It looked so small to hold such destruction. "We've become monsters," Seok-Jin whispered. "We became what we needed to become to survive," In-ho replied, though he didn't sound convinced. The debate had raged for weeks before Desolation Protocol was authorized. Using the Cascade device meant crossing a line that could never be uncrossed. Admiral Hana had argued in favor. "They want submission or extinction. We'll give them neither. We'll give them a choice. Let us live free or die with us." Chancellor Kyung-suk had opposed it initially. "If we use this weapon, we prove them right. We prove we're monsters." "We're already monsters," Hana had replied. "We've poisoned worlds. We've released plagues. We've killed billions. One more atrocity won't change what we are, but it might save what's left of us." In the end, the vote passed. Desolation Protocol was authorized. Commander Su-Min-an worked in intelligence, intercepting and decoding Valthrine communications. She had been doing this for months, and she noticed something strange. The Empire's 17-member species were arguing. The communications showed disagreement, even conflict among the species that made up the Valthrine alliance. "Admiral," she reported, "I think the Empire is fracturing. Several species are questioning this war. Some are even opposing it outright." Hana studied the data. "Which species?" "The Keltor and the Minshar, primarily. They're peaceful species that were conquered long ago. They don't want to participate in genocide." "Can we exploit this?" Su-Min nodded. "If we can contact them directly, we might be able to turn them against the Valthrine leadership." It was a small hope, but hope nonetheless. The Battle of Terra's Gate began at the outer markers of the solar system. The Valthrine armada advanced in perfect formation. The human fleet waited, desperately outnumbered. Admiral Hana gave the order. "All ships engage. Use everything we have." Humanity unleashed every weapon in its arsenal. Antimatter bombs that released more energy than stars. Stellar radiation cannons that burned through shields like paper. Singularity missiles that created tiny black holes. The Valthrine had never seen such destructive power used so freely. The humans fought like they had nothing to lose because they didn't. For every human ship destroyed, they took 3 Valthrine vessels with them. But the mathematics were brutal. 15,000 versus 800. Even with a 3-to-1 kill ratio, humanity would run out of ships long before the Empire did. Lieutenant Young-ji Baek, who had been rescued from the planet where she'd been stranded, flew her fighter through the chaos. She had survived so much already. She didn't expect to survive this. "All fighters form up on me," she commanded. "We're going for the command carrier." Her squadron of 50 fighters dove toward a Valthrine ship the size of a small city. Point defense systems lit up space around them. Fighters fell like rain, but Young-ji pressed on. They released their bombs and pulled away. Only 12 fighters made it out, but the command carrier was heavily damaged. "Worth it," Young-ji said. even as she watched her squadron mates die. The Prometheus, with Captain Seokjin Hwang in command, slipped through the battle using stealth systems. Its mission was too important to risk in direct combat. Jump coordinates locked, the navigator reported. Ready to proceed to the Valthar system. Valthar, the homeworld of the Valthrine species, the heart of the Empire. 20 billion people lived there. Seokjin took a deep breath. Execute jump. The Prometheus vanished from Earth's solar system and reappeared near Valthar's sun. Alarms immediately screamed as Valthrine defense stations detected them. Deploy the cascade device, Seokjin ordered. Dr. Inho's hands shook as he activated the weapon. It launched from the ship and dove toward the star's corona, moving too fast for the Valthrine to intercept. The device entered the star and began its work. Deep within the stellar core, nuclear reactions started to destabilize. Seokjin broadcast on all frequencies, making sure the entire Empire heard him. Attention, Valthrine Empire. This is Captain Seokjin Hwang of the human vessel Prometheus. We have deployed a cascade device in your home star. It is now unstable. In 48 hours, this star will collapse. Your homeworld and everything in this system will be destroyed. He paused, letting that sink in across the galaxy. You have one chance to prevent this. Withdraw all forces from human space within the next 24 hours. Every ship, every soldier, every occupation force, leave human territory completely. If you do this, we will reverse the device and save your world. Silence filled the communication channels. If you do not withdraw, Seokjin continued, his voice hard as iron, 20 billion of your people will die. Your homeworld, the seat of your empire for 6,000 years, will be destroyed. Choose now. The Valthrine response came from the Emperor himself. His voice shook with rage. You are bluffing. You wouldn't dare. This is a trick. Seokjin's reply was simple. Ask your scientists. Have them examine your star. You'll see we're not bluffing. Across the Valthrine homeworld, scientists turned their instruments toward their sun. What they saw made their blood run cold. The star was indeed destabilizing. The calculations were clear. In 48 hours, maybe less, their world would end. Panic spread across Valthar. 20 billion people looked up at their sun and knew it was dying. They had less than 2 days to evacuate, and there was nowhere near enough ships to save everyone. The Emperor refused to withdraw. It's a bluff. They'll reverse it. But Captain Seokjin Hwang didn't bluff. 24 hours passed. The deadline expired. The Valthrine fleet remained in human space. They think we won't do it, Dr. Inho said. They think we'll save them at the last moment. Seokjin stared at the tactical display. On Valthar, billions of people were saying goodbye to their families, preparing for death. He had to decide. Reverse the device and save them, or let it run and become the greatest mass murderer in history. Captain, his communications officer said, we're receiving millions of transmissions from Valthar. People begging us to save them. Families, children. Seokjin closed his eyes. He thought about Mars. 4 million people vaporized as a demonstration. He thought about all the humans killed in this war. And he thought about the billions of Valthrine who had never wanted this war, who were about to die for their emperor's pride. Time until point of no return? He asked. 12 hours, Dr. Inho replied. After that, the reaction becomes irreversible. The galaxy watched and waited. Would humanity pull back from the brink, or would they prove themselves the monsters the Empire claimed they were? Captain Seokjin Hwang's decision would determine the fate of billions. Captain Seokjin Hwang stood on the bridge of the Prometheus watching the countdown. 12 hours until the Valthrine star's collapse became irreversible. 12 hours to decide if he would become the greatest mass murderer in galactic history. On Valthar, the homeworld of the Valthrine species, 20 billion people prepared to die. Parents held their children. The elderly sat quietly in their homes. Some prayed. Some rioted. Most simply waited. The Emperor remained defiant. The humans will reverse it. They're not monsters like us. They'll save our people at the last moment. But on Earth, Admiral Hana Park had given Seokjin clear orders. If they don't withdraw, let the star collapse. We cannot show weakness now. Commander Su Min-an watched the Valthrine communications with growing hope. The fractures in the Empire were widening. 2 species, the Keltor and the Mincher, had begun openly defying the Valthrine leadership. We will not participate in this genocide. The Keltor representative broadcast. We withdraw our ships from the Armada. We will no longer serve the Empire. 3,000 ships crewed by Keltor and Minshar broke formation and left the battlefield. It wasn't enough to change the war's outcome, but it was significant. "Admiral," Sumin reported, "the Empire is collapsing from within. If we can just hold on." "We can't hold on," Hana replied grimly. "We have maybe 300 ships left. Even with those defections, the Valthrine still outnumber us 20-1. 8 hours until the point of no return." On Valthar, the Emperor finally broke. He watched his people flooding the spaceports, desperate to escape. But there weren't enough ships. Most would die. He sent a transmission to Earth, his voice no longer proud but pleading. "We surrender completely. Withdraw your forces, and we will give you anything you demand." The message reached Admiral Hana. She forwarded it to Captain Seokjin without comment. The decision was his. Seokjin read the surrender. "They want terms. What terms do we offer?" Dr. Inho asked. "The ones we stated from the beginning," Seokjin replied. He opened a channel to the Valthrine Emperor. "Your surrender is accepted under the following conditions: immediate withdrawal of all Valthrine forces from human space, complete withdrawal from all occupied territories in the galaxy, liberation of every subjugated species, full reparations for the Mars colony genocide, complete technological exchange, and permanent human observers in your government to ensure compliance." The Emperor's image appeared on screen. He looked old and broken. "We agree to everything. Just save our world." Seokjin looked at Dr. Inho. "Can we reverse it?" "Yes, but we have to do it now. We're cutting it very close. Do it." Dr. Inho worked frantically at the controls. The Cascade device received the reversal signal. Deep within Valthar's sun, the destabilization began to slow, then stop. The star stabilized. Valthar was saved. Across the Valthrine homeworld, people collapsed in relief. They had come within hours of extinction. The Empire's pride had nearly killed them all, but the Empire was broken. Over the following months, the Valthrine military withdrew from every occupied system. Species that had been enslaved for thousands of years suddenly found themselves free. The galaxy watched in amazement as the mightiest empire in history crumbled. Elder statesman Wansu Park, a skilled diplomat, led the peace negotiations. He had spent 40 years in government and knew how to turn military victory into lasting peace. He met with representatives from all 17 species that had formed the empire. "The age of empires is over," he told them. "We propose something different. A coalition of free species. Democratic equal, no one species dominates." The negotiations lasted 3 months. They were difficult, often bitter. But eventually the Free Species Coalition was formed. Humanity took a leading role, not as conquerors but as liberators. General He Jung Lim became the military governor of former Empire territories. She oversaw the occupation and rehabilitation of Valthrine worlds. It was a massive task. "We're not here to enslave you," she told the Valthrine people. "We're here to ensure you never enslave others again. Cooperate and we'll leave as soon as possible." Many Valthrine resented the occupation. Others understood it was necessary. The Empire had committed countless atrocities. Someone needed to ensure they couldn't do it again. The cost of victory became clear as the final tallies came in. 347 million humans dead, 12 colony worlds completely destroyed, countless ships and stations lost. But that paled compared to what humanity had done to others. The biological weapons, the poisoned worlds, the civilian casualties. Humanity had killed over 8 billion Valthrine and their allies during the war. Admiral Hana Park retired after the peace was signed. She was 61 years old and looked 80. The war had aged her beyond her years. She gave one final speech before leaving military service. "We won this war, but at what cost? We became what we fought against. We committed atrocities that will haunt us for generations. We proved we were capable of genocide." She paused, her voice heavy with regret. "Was it worth it? I don't know. We're free. The galaxy is free. But we paid in blood and souls for that freedom. Every person who served in this war carries scars, visible and invisible. We did what we had to do. But we should never forget what it cost us." Ambassador Che Won-song represented humanity at the first meeting of the Galactic Council, the governing body of the Free Species Coalition. She was young, only 35, but she had fought in the war and understood its lessons. She stood before representatives from 43 different species and delivered humanity's message. "We didn't want this war. We didn't want to become destroyers of worlds. We wanted to explore the stars to make friends. to learn from other civilizations. She looked at each representative in turn. But when the Empire demanded our submission, we had only two choices: kneel or fight. We chose to fight, and we will always choose to fight for freedom no matter the cost. Her voice strengthened. Let this be a lesson to everyone here, and to anyone who might come after. Humanity will never submit to tyranny. We will never bow to oppression. We will always choose freedom, even if it means becoming monsters, even if it means burning the galaxy to ashes. She sat down. The chamber was silent. The Valthrine representative, a young diplomat named Korath, stood to respond. His people had suffered terribly, but he was wise enough to understand the larger truth. We were wrong, he said simply. We thought humanity would be like the others. We thought you would calculate the odds and surrender. We didn't understand that some species value freedom more than life itself. He bowed his head. On behalf of the Valthrine people, I apologize for the war we started. We will spend generations trying to atone for our crimes, and we will never forget the lesson humanity taught us. Captain Seok Jin Huang never returned to Earth. He stayed in space, commanding a patrol ship on the outer edges of human territory. He couldn't face the families of the billions who had died in the war he helped wage. Lieutenant Young Ji Bayek became an instructor, teaching the next generation of pilots. She still had nightmares about the war, but she carried on. Dr. Dongwu Ryu, creator of the Reaper virus, destroyed all his research and became a civilian doctor. He spent the rest of his life trying to save lives to balance the scales for all the death he had caused. Haewon Nam returned to Arcturus 7th and helped rebuild her world. She never spoke about what she did during the war. Some things were too dark to share. The galaxy entered a new age. The Free Species Coalition brought peace and cooperation. Trade flourished. Science advanced. Different species learned from each other. But everyone remembered the war. They remembered what humanity had done, and they made sure never to threaten human freedom again. 50 years later, Admiral Hannah Park was dying. She was 111 years old, and her body was finally giving out. She lay in a hospital bed on Earth, looking out the window at the stars. A young reporter came to interview her to get her final thoughts on the war for the history books. "Do you have any regrets?" the reporter asked. Hannah was quiet for a long time. Then she smiled sadly. "I regret everything, and I regret nothing. We did terrible things. We became monsters. But we survived. We're free. And because of what we did, billions of others are free too." She looked at the stars one last time. Would I do it again, knowing what I know now? Yes, because freedom is worth any price, even the price of our souls. She died that night peacefully in her sleep. The galaxy built monuments to the war, not celebrations of victory, but remembrances of sacrifice. On Earth, a wall listed every name of every person who died, 347 million names. At the bottom was an inscription. They demanded submission. We replied with fire and desolation. We will never kneel. And across the galaxy, in every language of every species, people remembered the truth that humanity had taught them. Freedom is not given, it is taken, and some species will burn the universe itself before they accept chains. Humanity had won its freedom. The price was almost too high to bear, but they paid it anyway, and they never looked back.